Well, this is Baruch here. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and you know that right now it's time for Jewish astrology with Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg. He's going to teach us how to be an astrologer a little bit. So let's go over here, and he was talking about this concept of starting, and all astrological understandings of birth charts begin with the ascendant. So the ascendant in this case, that's the AC, the ascendant right here, is in Leo. So the chart that we're looking at right now is someone is a Leo. And he said, what do you do? Start with Leo as the first house. Then you go to the second house, the third house, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. And this is the house of career. As I am just a student as well. So I'm not really sure what it means. This is the sign of Taurus. And this is the sign of Venus. So these two going together, Venus and Taurus, do go together very nicely, and that's where you see this person's career. I don't know how it works. Then it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Count another 10, he says. And you come to the person's mate, which is the 7th house. In this case, this person is a Leo, the opposite of Leo, because remember we say that the open enemy is your spouse. So it's very interesting. This about how that works is Aquarius. So Aquarius, well, there's nothing that Reb Yaakov talks about. All of these signs over here are, some people try to explain them or do explain them, but he says it's not important, so I don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the place of the home. And this man's home is waiting there for him. Saturn. Saturn is a cold, distant planet. Now that 10th house is also the house of Scorpio. Or this is the 4th house, is a house of Scorpio. So what Saturn has to do with Scorpio, that's for us to learn. That's what I understand right now. Now over here in this particular, in the book, let's go to the book and get a little bit more right now of what he says. That's the way he said it's called 1, it goes to 10, then it goes to the 7th house, then it goes to the 4th house. So right now, he says like this. Want to talk about the idea, now using the same system, because the forward or counterclockwise method, that the 7th house, which is the house of the spouse, fulfills itself in the 4th house, which is the house of the home. So he says like this: if you have a good spouse, 7th house, that means you work together well. Or, I'm not sure what good means. Maybe he's going to give us a definition. So you fulfill yourself in the 4th house. So that's the definition. A good spouse will lead to fulfillment for that person in the 4th house of the home. In other words, a good partner would bring you a home, and then you can have children, raise a family. And he's saying right here, this is really the purpose of our life. We're getting lost in this right now. And the 4th house, besides being the home, is also the person's genetics, a person's parents and past, etc., and all of this. So the 4th house, which is the home, means, I guess he means the person's root. And this 4th house fulfills itself 10 houses away, which is the number 1. How, in fact, do you build a home? You have to go back to the number 1 house, which is the start of the person. If a person was born with good genes, and his parents raised him properly, he or she, he is going to be an excellent child. And a person, he or she, a child and person, that is the 1st house himself, is ascendant. Now that's why this is a system that really is just pointing right at that ascendant. If you listen to other people who describe the ascendant, they really don't know astrology that well. Because astrology really is based on the ascendant as at least the beginning, the number 1 place. That's you. So you see that the 4th house, which is the home, it actually creates the 1st house. From the person's past and from the parents themselves, they influence who the child will be, which is the 1st house. So whatever was in the home of the parents, it goes backwards in history. Whatever that home was like, that home will have influenced who the person who is going to be born, that's represented by the 1st house, is going to be. Now, this is an idea that I really, really like. So we have limited time. Let's go on. So let us say that a person has problems in his career. That's his 10th house. Where do you look in the horoscope for somebody who has a career problem? So first you go back and look at the relationship between the 1st house and the 10th house, which is a relationship of cause and effect. Now, how does that work? Well, how does that go? In other words, the cause is what? The 1st house? So the 1st house is the cause, and the 10th is the effect. So if the person is okay, now he's defining really what it means to be okay. If he has good character traits and is diligent, then his 1st house will bring him a good 10th house. But if he has psychological problems and other problems, which may he have developed actually because he said previously in his 4th house, which is the house of his home, or had bad character traits, it can impede his career, which is his 10th house. So in other words, if a person has a bad 10th house, a conflict in the 10th house, he's not doing well in business or in his career, you don't just look at the 10th house like most astrologers do. You go back and look at the cause, which is in the 1st house, which is the person himself. So the person himself, like say you're a psychologist, the person himself has problems. As a result of that, they're not being able to be straightforward when it comes to their career. If the person himself is okay, then everything will be good with his career. He said, but if he is not okay, then he would have career difficulties. So that means that if a person has problems in his career, he might have some difficulties or defects in his personality, or psychological problems, or bad character traits. Or maybe he is not very bright, or maybe he is very shy and can't put himself forward, or all sorts of possibilities which we have to try to find out. So we're in the discovery business, trying to figure out ourselves. In order to help the person following the guidelines and map of esoteric astrology, you have to look at who the person is in order to help him improve his career or help him find himself so that he finds a better destiny. Now, I would say that this is true of you and me. This is true that sometimes when you look, we want to think only the best things about ourselves. When you really look at your chart, you may find out that you have character traits that are not so nice. You can work on them if you're aware of them. And that's the point that we're trying to say here in Jewish astrology. That Reb Yaakov is trying to point out to us how we can learn to examine ourselves in terms of the systems of reality in which we are born. Now, I mentioned just on the side, if a person has a problem in his 4th house, this could leave, in other words, his parents, his house, the house that he came from. Maybe the person was a divorce in the house. Maybe there was constant fighting in the house. All different kinds of things that happen in the house from which the parents developed that will affect the person when he is born into that situation. And that's what we're talking about. This is also situational astrology because things are constantly changing. So when you're born is a special moment in time and space. And at that moment, you have to see where it was going on in the past and where the person is going to be. And it's going to affect what's going to happen in the person's career. If the career is not good, then you could see there'd be a problem finding a wife or a husband. And then you could see that it's very going to be problematic in building a home. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this has been a shir here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel in Jewish Astrology.